Okay, these are my 3 audience members. Here. Never-ending hunger. In 1995, scientists noticed that the frog population in North Korea had a dramatic decline within a year. What could cause such an odd effect? It turns out that the explanation can be found in the stomach of starving villagers that nearly took frogs out of their country. Although I've never personally seen a starving child, I have seen pictures, and they are terribly disturbing. Today, I will be speaking with you about the span of the North Korea famine, causes of the famine, and the steps that are supposedly being made to rid this country of hunger. My first point today is the severity. As many as 3.7 million people have been estimated to have died during North Korea's severe famine of the 1990s that still continues today. It grew so severe that at least a dozen or more accounts of cannibalism had occurred in North Korea during the most severe years of the famine. The famine lasted nearly a decade, and still the country suffers from regular food shortages. In 2012, more than 25% of North Korea's children under the age of 5 suffered from chronic malnutrition, according to the National Nutrition Survey of North Korea. The report also found nearly 1 in 3 women suffer from anemia. My second point today will be the causes of the famine. North Korea's soil has been depleted for decades due to the Soviets' methods of farming from back in the day. So after a few years of yielding nice crops, they suddenly plummeted and weren't able to produce enough to feed North Korea's entire population. Experts seem to agree that after a specific food peak in 1989, production of crops declined throughout the 1990s. The country then became aid-dependent because the government had no money for food. Another cause is the fact that when Korea was a joined country, southern Korea was used to farm because the terrain was more fertile and forest-like, according to poverty and famine in North Korea. In contrast, the northern part of Korea was used to mine resources from the mountains and hills that cover the land. And as you might guess, mountains aren't the most ideal place to farm. Once North Korea depleted the last bit of its arable soil, they turned to the same option as most developing countries: deforestation. In this country's case, the forest is exactly what it needed, what the soil needed, to recover from the pollution and the exhaustion. The processes of deforestation did in fact increase the rate at which the soil was eroding, also making flooding worse. Flooding then added to its contribution to destroying crops, if and when there were any crops. My last point today will be the supposed progress made towards ending the famine in North Korea. In the beginning, the Northern Korea government was late on making decisions toward ending the crisis. They decided to control what population eats via ration tickets, not too surprising in a communist country. Initially, however, responding actions to the crisis included intensifying policies practiced in the past that focused on increased physical labor requirements due to the limited access to new agriculture technologies and machines. In other words, the government makes citizens work harder to try and accomplish the work of tractors, fertilizers, and other tools that we use in our country to harvest the crops in a first world country. For a time, China did fill the gap that was left by the Soviet Union's demise, raising North Korea's food supply with significant aid. Then government cut commercial grain imports, which went to China, and in essence using humanitarian aid as a form of balance of payment supports, freeing up resources to finance the importation of advanced military weaponry. Even at the famine's peak, the resources needed to close the gap weren't modest, in the order of $100 million to $200 million, or up to 20% of the revenue from exported goods and services, according to The Guardian in last September. In conclusion, the country is cold, mountainous, and starving, yet the government has only pursued an irrational policy of national self-sufficiency instead of exporting industrial products, earning foreign exchange, and importing bulk grains like China, Southern Korea, and Japan do. The result has been environmental degradation and recurring food shortages. And that's the end of my speech.